welcome back to the Digital Health and Wearables series. Today I have another magnificent episode and leader for you, but before I go ahead, let me remind you to subscribe to the channel and also check all the previous content there for you. Also, let me acknowledge our partners, the series partner Fujifilm Healthcare and the industry partner Isaac Care. But today gives me great pleasure to introduce you to Grace Vinton. She is a patient advocate, a digital health influencer, and an healthcare PR pro. Grace, how are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me. It's great to be here.
Oh, fantastic. We're talking before the recording. Nice to see you. We met at IMS. I've been following your work. You're very active like me, so fantastic to connect again.
Yeah, so great to connect too. Yeah, by day, I do the healthcare communications work, and then by night, I do my patient advocacy work. And so I've just been so great I've been really honored to connect with amazing folks like you.
Brilliant, fantastic. And today we are here to discuss empowering the patient voice in innovation. And the first question that I have for you is, what is the care web and why does it see care as a web help inform patient informed informatics?
So, yeah, I guess I should start my own patient story. In 2017, after I had my third son, I experienced a terrible health event, which led to intense chronic pain for a year and a half, multiple misdiagnoses, wrong treatments, the whole shebang for a year and a half. And it turned out at the end of my health event that I had E. coli poisoning, which should have been found at the first ER visit that I had gone to a year and a half prior and was fixed by antibiotics, which is pretty shocking to think, just something which seems maybe so small could lead to so many issues for so long. I'm totally out of pain now, but I think that experience made me realize how powerful the patient voice is and also how misunderstood the patient experience is. And I work with healthcare informaticists every day who are trying to change things and make things better. And that said, I really see so much power that the patient can have in the innovation process. I think people talk about care circles. They say, "Oh yeah, your care circle," which is like your physician and the people who are caring for you. They talk about care triangles. Oh, the physician, the pharmacist, and all kind of helping you with your care. But because of how care is being done post pandemic, there are so many more touch points than ever before. People are getting care from their watch and from their wearable, from VR, from their therapist, from their dentist, from their health coach. There are so many care touch points. And unfortunately, with the way that healthcare data is right now, none of them are completely connected. So it's not as linear as just, oh, we have to understand the patient and it's a care circle and it's very easy to understand. In fact, it's a web with many different touch points. No one's on the same page and has access to the same data. And patients are advocating the web on their own, and they're figuring it out on their own, and their experience really is just not as linear as people think that it is.
Well, brilliant. Grace, thank you so much for sharing your personal experience. And you are very right. I mean, the system is very fragmented, the patient's voice is more often missed, and things could be improved. And thank you so much for sharing these elements, very important things to consider. Moving on, the second question is, what does digital therapeutics and healthcare informatics typically miss about the patient reality? And aren't we all patients? And what are we missing?
Yeah, I think, a lot of people ask me this question all the time. They say, "Aren't we all patients?" And I hear it regularly from people. I'm a patient, I'm a caregiver, I have experience. The only thing is when you're working in digital health, you're working in healthcare, you're at an intellectual advantage of knowing the whole kind of how healthcare works. And in many ways, you can miss the details of what makes up a patient experience. So I like to bring up Ken Wilber's theory of patient reality. Give me a second, but it kind of helps us understand the parts of a patient reality we actually often miss when we just say, oh, we're all patients, or, we don't really need to have the patient voice. We can just do this on our own with what we know about patient experience. Well, so Ken Wilber says there's I, we, it, it's, and that makes up a person's reality. I is the personality of a person. Now, obviously, you can only kind of guess people's personalities. You don't really have insight into what their personality is, whether they are responsible, accountable, what kind of person they are. We is their personal relationship with somebody. And in healthcare, that's their personal relationship with their caregiver, their personal relationship with their physician, their personal relationship with their pharmacist. And we really cannot guess that part of a patient experience and patient reality. We could try, but there's personal jokes, there's history, there's experiences they had when they were in kindergarten at their pediatrician that we cannot possibly begin to understand when it comes to patient experience and reality. And then there's it, which is the science that makes up a person and a person's reality. And now digital health does that amazingly well. And that's fairly easy to do when you have medical knowledge and experience. Say, oh, this makes up a person's reality is the physical aspect of their body. And if this happens, then this happens. If this happens, then this happens. And this is what health looks like. And that is something digital health really understands. And you can understand as just a patient and not, and a healthcare informaticist. And then there's and that's systems. That's what makes up the person's reality in terms of their gender, their socioeconomic status, where they live, and their so things like that, that kind of make up the systems around what a person is. And actually, healthcare is getting better at understanding systems. Health equity is, kind of part of the quadruple aim now, and people are starting to see that as something that's really important. That said, a patient can only truly give you the I, the we, and the it's from their personal experience. And they have the most at stake. Their lives are on the line. So when they tell you something's important, it's critically important. They're going to die or else. And I think that's something that digital health professionals often miss. They think, oh, well, I'm a patient. I know patients. I don't have to ask patients their experiences, but you only know 1/4 of the patient truly, truly well enough to understand the patient experience. That science part of their body, and you can know that for sure pretty much. And that's constantly changing and evolving, but you'll never be able to understand the personal relationships, the personal experiences, and things that make up the other parts of the patient that are so critical important when it comes to actually using technology and actually implementing it in your lives and using it in a way that's impactful for your health.
Brilliant, thank you, Grace. Yeah, very important things that you mentioned there, and also these assumptions that we make as a professional, as a clinician, as a doctor. I can actually also argue that data is only part of the story, and sometimes
Mhm.
it can actually work against innovation because you think you're relying on only data. And it is a perfect example what you described, that is much more to it: the personality, the interaction, what really is valuable for a certain individual. It is so much to it. But the
Yeah.
last, yes, sure.
I was going to say also, when your life is on the line, you just see things differently, and you can inform things as such. And I think that's really important for the digital health industry to be aware of and to know that, that perspective is critical. Dave DeBronkart and others have been really strong advocates about this and have said, patients are the most important stakeholders because they have the most at stake, and we really have to remember that because they're the ones that are truly impacted by things being fragmented and the experiences not being tailored to them.
Grace, the final question that I have for you is: it seems very simple, but might be not. How can we fix this problem?
Yeah, I would say, we really need to just make sure that we're asking patients, including patients the best we can. They want for their pain to have purpose. When I was in pain, I didn't want that to go for naught once I got better. I wanted to be able to use that experience and say, hey, we need to fix things and change things. And there's a lot of patients out there that want to do that. They just want to make a difference and they want to take their experiences and they want to say, hey, how can we take these experiences and help them, for the better? And ways you can contact patients through social media. I know I had a chronic condition support group, and there's a lot of chronic condition support groups at hospitals, health systems, churches in the areas that would be willing to help and to give their insight into your technologies or your wearables or things that you're doing in healthcare and health IT. Also, patient advocates like myself and others in the industry, were on the front lines trying to help patients navigate the healthcare system. It's a complicated system, and patients have a lot of stress in their and the sicknesses that they're experiencing and their experience just generally with the healthcare system. And so, go to patient advocates, see if there are patients that they're connected with that might be willing to give their perspective, and make sure it's a diverse set of a group of folks. Make sure it's a diverse set of language and culture and gender identity and education. Every perspective counts, and I think the more variety that you have in a patient perspective, the only better it can be. And I think, the digital health world will just be way more informed for it, having the patient insight included in informatics and in every other area. Have them on your panels, on your digital health conferences. Have these patients included on your board for your company. And patients have a powerful, unique perspective that comes straight from the pain of their experiences that can be useful and can be also just powerful in terms of your strategies as technology innovators. And then also, I think, will when I think about the care web that I talked about, I actually see a world in which the care web will become a circle again. I really think that. And I think it's going to take 10 to 15 years, but I'm a patient representative on the Sequoia Project's Care Quality Council. It does kind of interoperability frameworks in the US. And I'm seeing that people are fighting for patients to have access to their records. And once patients do have access to all of their health data from all the disparate sources, I see a world in which the care web will go back to the care circle and that care will truly be patient centric.
Brilliant. Grace, thank you so much. So very strong message from the outset, but the last question, to involve patients at all times, and also patients as being the most important stakeholder, is so important to kind of frame around the patient. Thank you so much for your expertise, magnificent insights, and your valuable contribution to the industry and to the show, of course. I finish all my episodes in a peculiar way. It's not a question as such. It's called 1 minute of fame. You can mention anything, your professional life, personal life, achievements, anything, industry, family, anything whatsoever. Over to you to round up. 1 minute of fame.
Okay. Well, I would definitely say, I would love to connect with you on LinkedIn and Twitter to talk with you more about this. If you are kind of listening to this and you're like, she's crazy, I'd love to talk with you because I would love to hear your perspective and I would love to change your mind or not. I would love for us to have a conversation. So you can reach out to me on LinkedIn, you can reach out to me on Twitter, and you can also check out my podcast, the Hit Like a Girl podcast. I have a show on it called High Tea with Grace, HITEA with Grace. And on there, I just spill the tea with healthcare innovators and executives leading the charge in pharma, life sciences, and healthcare IT. And I would love to have you on the show as well. So, yeah, would love to check you out on there.
Brilliant. Grace, lovely way to round up. Um, Thank you so much for being in here. Um, I'm gonna round up now. It's lovely to see you again. Thank you for your magnificent contribution.
Thank you so much. Hope to be on again soon.
Sure, I'm gonna round up now. To all our viewers and listeners, make sure you connect with Grace. I'm also gonna post the links in the body of the YouTube about Grace's socials, LinkedIn, and Twitter. Connect with her. She's willing to talk and to help, of course. And let me remind you to subscribe to the channel, and let me acknowledge lately the series partner Fujifilm Healthcare and our industry partner Isaac Care. And I'll see you all next week.